Hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar drop-in session on the Postgraduate Advanced Certificate in Educational Studies in Educational Assessment. Thank you everyone for coming along and taking your time out of your busy schedules to come and join us this afternoon, morning or evening, depending on where you are around the world. My name is Simon Child. I'm the Head of Assessment Training at the Cambridge Assessment Network, and I'm the co-course director for the Postgraduate Advanced Certificate in Educational Assessment. So what I hope we'll be able to provide to you in this webinar drop-in session is to give you a real overview and flavour for the course itself, in case you're considering applying for the course, and give you all the essential information that you need so you can make an informed decision about whether the course is right for you. So we've got an overall schedule for this particular webinar session. And for the first part, I'll just talk a little bit about the structure of the course, the nature of the course itself, and some of the key information, so you've got everything immediately available to you. And after that short presentation, I'll also introduce you to a current student on the course, Inara Shakirova, who is based at the University of Helsinki in Finland, and she'll give you an insights from the student's perspective, which we hope will be really interesting and useful for you as you consider participating in the course for the next academic year. And after that, there'll be a free Q&A session as well. So any questions that you've got in the back of your mind that you're looking to have answered by the end of this webinar, feel free to ask them as we go along, and we'll try as well as possible to answer as many of them as we can in this time that we've got together today. Just a few little housekeeping things before we get started. We're looking to record the session, if possible. You may have seen that the recording has started. This is just for the benefit of other students, prospective students that haven't been able to participate and join us today. So hopefully that's okay for everyone. And if everyone's ready, we'll get started. The first thing that I wanted to talk to you about before we get talking about the course itself is just to give you an overview of the collaboration between the Cambridge Assessment Network, which is part of the overall organisation of Cambridge Assessment, and the Faculty of Education at the University of Cambridge. We've been working together for many years on the Postgraduate Advanced Certificate. And what the Cambridge Assessment Network does is we are a CPT accredited provider of what's known as training excellence, related to the idea of professional development in assessment related topics. So we've been, over the years, we've been looking at these online courses, and we've developed a range of online course provision in relation to these different topics here. Sorry, I'm just pausing the automatic slide. It's just moving on a little bit there. So we've got a range of different courses that we provide here, including online courses, assessment practitioner workshops, and a range of different topics here. Psychometrics in educational assessment, introducing data literacy, introducing assessment practice, and principles and practice of assessment. We also have a range of assessment practitioner workshops related to very specific topics on design and practice in assessment, which you can look on the link here to find out more information about those if they're of interest to you. And here's some information about where you can find out more about the Cambridge Assessment Network itself. We've got a LinkedIn page and Twitter group as well. But just to go into more information and detail about the Postgraduate Advanced Certificate itself and what is unique about this course going into the year ahead. So as I mentioned before, the course is a collaboration between Cambridge Assessment and the Faculty of Education at the University of Cambridge. It's a 15-month course, and it's due to start this year from late September in 2021 to December 2022. And it's a part-time course, so it's designed to be completed and worked towards in amongst your working life or your professional life. And that's one of the unique and interesting elements of this particular course, is that it's designed with people that are working in mind. So it uses a blended learning program, and it's in a sense, it's designed from the ground up to try and support you as much as possible in completing the course in amongst your work. It's worth half a master's at postgraduate level, so it's 90 credits in the official language of the university. And as you can see on this slide here, it's completed by teachers, members of examination boards or awarding organisations, university staff, members of professional organisations, educational ministry members, and many others. Essentially, it appeals to any professional person who is interested in developing their understanding at a deep level in relation to assessment. And our typical groups include these ones here, but if you have a really interest or a deep interest in assessment related topics, that the course is potentially interesting and useful for you. One thing that I would like you to be aware of is that it's open to international student applications. So that's something that we've developed and applied in the last couple of years, which is a great development. And Inara actually is benefiting from that as a student who's based in Finland. And just a key piece of information is the application deadline date, which is the 24th of June 2021. So that's obviously a key date to keep in mind. In terms of the aims and the learning outcomes, what we hope you get from the course overall is that we hope that you develop an in-depth understanding of the key concepts and issues in the field of educational assessment. And one thing that we want to try and get across to you in this session is that essentially you have an element of control in terms of your investigations. So whilst we set up the parameters and some of the topics of interest, so validity, reliability, fairness, the future of assessment, all these different key concepts and ideas that you are perhaps interested in your daily work, through the assignments and through the activities that we provide to you, we give you what we would call a critical and reflective approach to your inquiries specific to your professional practice. And all of the assignments and the work that you do towards the postgraduate certificate is very much embedded in your own work. That's from the assignments to the activities. And we hope that you develop the ability to collect data and understand theoretical perspectives in assessment to make new insights in relation to your working life. So that's where we hope that you have an impact on your, not just of yourself and what you know, but also of your institution and your school or wherever it is that you're working. And also we hope that you develop the ability to evaluate the impact of your research in relation to specific inquiries that you run as part of the course. And you also develop skills in planning, organisation and academic writing. So those are the key learning outcomes that we develop over the 15-month period as you work towards the qualification. In terms of the structure of the course, you may have seen some of this information on the website or in other parts of the community that we've been talking about the course itself. The course is broken up into 4 units, of which students take 3. So the first unit is called the Principles of Assessment, and that takes place between October 21 and January 2022. And there are 10 teaching weeks associated with that. Then students get the choice. They make the choice usually around November of the academic year of that year, and they can choose between option A and option B. So option A is assessment design and evaluation, and option B is assessment for learning. So students choose one of those 2 options, and then they all come back together for Unit 3, which takes place in September 2022, and that's on the kind of issues and debates in assessment. And this unit is particularly interesting because we ask some what we call the big questions that are facing us as assessment designers and practitioners. For example, what is the future of assessment in terms of technology? How can we make assessment fairer in the future and more accessible to students around the world? So we're looking to do all those, asking those questions, and students get the opportunity to reflect on and answer those questions in their particular context that they're working in. You may be aware that we also have 4 day schools. So the day schools are attached to each of the units. We have 2 day schools in early October at the very beginning of the course. We have 1 day school in the following February, and then a final day school in September. At the moment, we're hoping that it will be confirmed later in a few weeks' time that the day schools will be run online because of COVID and international travel restrictions. We had to do that last year as for the current version of the course as well, obviously due to COVID. So we're looking to continue that into next year, and we're hoping to have that confirmed by Central University in the next few weeks. For each unit that the students take, there are three assignments in total. Each one is approximately 4,000 words in terms of length. For Unit 1, you answer a question related to validity in your working context, and you try and identify what we call threats to validity for an assessment that you know well, and write about ways to resolve those threats using the learning that you've taken from the year ahead up to that point. For Unit 2, the assignment is related to a small-scale inquiry that you make. So that's a small research project where you're looking to innovate in some way in relation to an assessment that you know, and you write about the process of trying to improve that assessment through collecting research data. And the third assignment is related to, for Unit 3, is related to you answering one of the big questions that we pose in that particular unit. For example, what do you think is the future use of technology in assessment design? So that builds up and kind of is synoptic in a sense. It draws upon all your previous learning. So that's the assignments. For each assignment, you have a supervisor who. The supervisors is actually something that we consider to be a bit of a feather in the cap for the course. We have a dedicated and experienced group of supervisors that take you through each unit and each assignment, giving you guidance and information as you need it, when you need it. You also have library access, so access to the full resources at the Faculty of Education. So there's a lot of reading and information that you can use the search engines and various things to really get the most out of the course. In amongst the units, we have 12 one-hour webinars as well that are run at different points across the academic year. These are obviously 1 hour long, and they're related to topics like research methods, and also we have guest speakers come along to talk about some of the key issues in assessment design, for example, validation or the use of MARC schemes. So there's a bit more of a practical focus for those webinars. And overall, there are 32 content weeks, and this is all hosted on our Moodle platform. And each unit has an online tutor whose dedicated role is to support individual students as they're learning about the materials and working with each other. So they guide you and give you various elements of support, again, as and when you need it. So that hopefully gives you a sense of the structure of the course and the blended learning approach. So with all that information that I've given you in the last 10 minutes or so, if you're interested, what's the approach to application? Well, the first step is to go to the web page here, as you can see on the top, PPD application. And you can see here there's just a screen grab of a small section of the application form. So on this form, you just give some of the essential information about who you are and the different choices that you want to make about the course. For example, do you have an initial view about which module, optional module is best for you? And you also need to complete that application form and send 2 referees letters to the email address that you can see on the screen there, ppd@educ.cam.ac.uk. So if you can send all that information by the deadline on the 24th of June, that would be appreciated. And in the application criteria, when we're reviewing the applications, we are looking for these things essentially. So we're looking for you to describe your experience working in an assessment or educational setting, your motivation to use the learning from the course to help you in your professional development or to improve your practice or policy, your motivation and willingness to engage with the academic and professional literature, and your ability to work independently. So those kinds of soft skills that you'll need to be successful on the course as well, if you can write about that in your application. And also any details of relevant English qualifications if required. You'll see if you read the information about student applications that we're looking for IELTS level 7 or equivalent. If you don't have the the qualifications specifically, then just let us know, and we can hopefully arrange something, a different way that you can prove your English abilities. We also look at the quality of the written work in the application itself to make a judgment about whether you've got the required English ability to be successful on the course. So just get in touch with the office if you're concerned about that. We often get asked quite a few different types of questions, so I just wanted to give you a quick overview of some of the key ones that we often get asked, just so you've got that information immediately to you. So one question that we often get asked is, how much time does a student spend studying per week? And as I mentioned before, there are 32 teaching weeks over that 15-month period, and there are 3 assignments. And there's a summer break period between July and September. So we usually recommend that students dedicate about 5 to 6 hours per week studying towards the course content. So as you're planning for applying, also plan ahead in terms of how you're going to make time in terms of arrangements week to week to study towards the course. Another question we get asked is, do I need to attend day schools? And we say it's not, whilst it's not immediately compulsory, it's a valued and important element of the course. So we would strongly recommend that you plan to attend all day schools, whether they're online or face-to-face, once we get that confirmed that it's online. Another question we get asked is, can I pay in instalments? And this can be arranged with the finance team. So if you're interested in paying by instalments, email the PPD office there on the email address below. And another question, can I transfer my credits from this course to other postgraduate courses later on? That's something that you should ask the institution that you're interested in applying to after this course, and just confirm whether the 90 credits that you get from this course can be transferred across. So that's something for the receiving university in many cases. So just maybe send them a quick email to confirm. Another question we sometimes get asked is that if a prospective student doesn't have a degree, but you have professional experience, can this compensate for the requirement of the undergraduate degree? And it's considered on a case-by-case basis. So we will look at your professional experience and make a judgment on that point. But in your statement, try and outline in as much detail as you can your motivation and willingness to engage with the academic literature. Do I need to have formal English language qualifications? As I mentioned before, send your certificates if you have them. We're looking for IELTS level 7 or above if possible, or the equivalent. And where can I find out more about the Transforming Practice MEd? Now, just to give you some information about that, the course itself gives you, once you complete the 90 credits for this particular course, you have automatic eligibility to transfer those credits and go on to what's called the Transforming Practice MEd qualification if you want to complete a full master's with the University of Cambridge. So if you are interested in that route, there's the web page there that you can find out more. And are there any discounts available or scholarships? Unfortunately, we don't have any scholarships available at this moment, and the fees are set by Central University. So it's currently £4,700 for UK-based students and £9,900 for EU or non-EU students. So that's just something to be aware of as well. And finally, if you'd like to find out more, here's the webpage with videos and further information. Our team will also be sending some further links to you about how to apply going ahead. So hopefully you found that a useful bit of information over the last 10-15 minutes or so. And here's my email here that you can use to contact me if you have any other questions, or you just want to say hello to me and find out more about the course. There's my email address, and I'd be happy to field any questions that you have about the course going forward. But at this stage, I wanted to give you the opportunity to hear from a student who's living the experience of the course themselves. So I'd like to introduce you to Inara Shakirova, who's a senior lecturer at the University of Helsinki. And And Inara, just to pass over to you, we're interested in finding out a little bit about how you found the experience of learning on the course, and maybe things to do with your week-to-week schedule and the things that you've participated in and the things that you've learned, and also about the impact of the course on your professional practice. So any insights that you have about that would be fantastic. So over to you.
Thank you, Simon, and I'm glad to be here and share the experiences from the program. So I need to correct Simon just a little bit, because I don't work for the University of Helsinki. I work for one of the Universities of Applied Sciences here in Finland. I'm based in Finland. That's absolutely correct. Yes, so I've been working in language teaching. I'm a language teacher and I've been teaching Russian and English to non-native speakers, and since long I have been monitoring, or at the time I had been monitoring the range of courses the University of Cambridge was offering for language teachers, and I felt sad that I wasn't eligible because they were all arranged for the faculty members. And finally I came across this particular course, and what I hoped to get from the course was some theoretical perspective, which I could immediately apply to my professional setting, my professional context in higher education. And also, I wanted to focus on online assessment. And I did focus. Actually, I've used technology for a long time, and sparingly I tried to, to reap the benefits of technology in assessment as well. But I understood that the assessment I was able to build at the time, it lacked this balance in complexity, across the assessment items, and also some concerns. I had concerns in whether it was ethical, whether it was valid for all the student cohorts. So many areas I felt insecure, although I had worked for a long time in teaching, in language teaching. So I decided that I needed to enhance my professional expertise, and well, I applied. I actually gained already, having been on the course for almost an academic year, not yet a year, but about 10 months. So I'm through the first module, and I'm almost done with submitting my second assignment. So what I've gained, I'm quite sure I'm able to construct a valid, reliable test, online test, since I opted for that one, within a suitable difficulty range. Okay. Besides, I was also thinking that I would enlarge my professional network, and I would look at how this is being done at the University of Cambridge. So I'm learning also by example, and I'm building my courses, and I'm using some of the tools that this course is using. So I'm talking also about the lesson format, how the lessons are, they become available to the students, how the students can be guided, and this guidance shouldn't be really intrusive and really force them into doing things. So this course, I felt that this course offers flexibility to the extent that okay, I can set aside some time, and I can well pace my progression on the course, still having my job done, my main job. So that was, the question was, which was sensitive, at the time. So, and I was able to balance these two perspectives. Okay. All right. So as to the distance learning perspective, so that wasn't anything new, because we have been working with the VLE platforms for a long time, and this is a similar platform, the Model 1, that we are using at our university. it's very intuitive. It's easy to keep pace with, keep up with. Every Friday, a new week's worth material is open for viewing, and then you may actually use this weekend time to go through the material. And usually, from what I remember, the time that is announced, it's about 4 to 5 hour time, but I never. I take longer, to finish, to complete this lesson and post the reflections on the discussion forum. So what we are expected to do, of course, we are asked to read the literature, that we need to gain this balanced theoretical perspective on what relates to the validity of assessment, what relates to how the assessment should be built, should be validated. Yes, and after that, after having acquainted with the literature, we're supposed to post some reflection, and specifically like the fact that we don't have to be very elaborate with our posts. So it's quite doable. We are learning to respect the space of the others and the time of the others. So we post very focused comments on the material itself, and also we give some comment to our peer students who have posted their reflections. So it boosts online collaboration, which is very interesting, I guess, and this is something that I really hoped to have on this course. You can definitely ask questions if I haven't covered something, but yes, what else I wanted to mention is that I wanted to express my gratitude to my supervisor, Sylvia Pop, because I actually was lucky to have her throughout both units, unit number 1 and 2, and she transformed my understanding of an academic staff member. She's absolutely fast to answer. She's very helpful, gives comments on the outlines, on the plans that I may send to her in a couple of hours. This is very important when the due date is approaching. Yes, and of course the feedback that she gives to the assignment when it is returned, the feedback is very comprehensive. And the one that she gave to my first assignment actually showed me that I really need to work on my academic writing skills. So, and the misconceptions I had, they were totally turned over, and the academic writing doesn't need to be tangled and complicated. That part I've learned, and I've been working on my academic writing for maybe 7 or 8 months. So yes.
Thanks, Inara. Thank you very much. That's given a great insight, I think, into many ways almost the personal relationship or the relationships that are built even in an online course perspective. Just to build on the point that you said there about supervisors, we try where possible to have for students to have the same supervisor across all 3 units, if at all possible. And that's hopefully to build the relationship the professional relationship that you have with them. So, and also they can see your growth as well, as you said, in terms of the development of your academic writing as you go through drafts and assignments and units. You develop those skills, and the feedback changes as a result. So they develop an understanding of them, and you understand the supervisor and how they work as well, which I think is a really fruitful part of this course, actually. So if anyone has any questions for Inara as we're going along specifically to her as a student that's living the course at the moment, then feel free to send them to us as we go through. But as Inara's been speaking, we've been receiving questions from potential prospective students and people attending today. So we've got a few questions that I'd just like to go through now, if possible. Someone's asked if the course is relevant for someone in Cambridge English to apply. Yes, you are eligible to apply for the course, and actually I recommend that anyone that's from Cambridge Assessment that's interested in the course go to Insight and the internal communications about funded applications. That's something to check through and find out information about. So I'd encourage you to do that. The next question is from someone that's asked whether IELTS level 7 is required in terms of an overall IELTS score of 7 or for each component. We focus mostly on the overall score, but we'll look at the average score going across each components as well. We're particularly interested in the written and the spoken elements, but we make an overall judgment based on the overall score in the main. The third question is that somebody's talked about that they hold a diploma in basic education and a Bachelor of Education in Social Studies, and 8 years of teaching experience in Ghana, and they have a GPA of 3.39. Can I apply for this particular course? It's with the information. One of the criteria for that we look at in terms of the review is whether someone has an undergraduate degree. So if you have an undergraduate degree and teaching or assessment related experience, those are two of the criteria to meet to be accepted onto the course. So that looks it's difficult to tell without looking at the rest of the application, but in terms of those criteria, I think that's a yes in terms of that. So hopefully that's answered your question. The fourth question is asking about the difference between this particular course and the new Masters in English Language Assessment. And there's a few differences in terms of the course. So the Masters in English Language Assessment that's run by the Institute of Continuing Education is very much focused on English language assessment specifically, whereas the practitioners and the attendees, participants and students of this course come from not just that particular background, but also from a range of different other backgrounds as well. So we have, just to give you an idea of who is on the course currently, we have maybe a quarter of people are currently practicing teachers, maybe 6 or 7 come from an English language background. We have some from awarding organisations based in the UK and internationally, and a few from education ministries and universities as well. So there's a bit more, there's a lot of variety in terms of who attends the course, and I think that's helpful in terms of the different perspectives and the different challenges that students come to the course with, and the different perspectives that you share as you're going through the course itself. In terms of the size of the course, obviously it's half a master's for this particular course and it's a full master's for the English Language Assessment course. This course, the Postgraduate Advanced Certificate, is built from the ground up in terms of being a part-time professional practitioner development course. So it's very much focused on people that are on the ground practicing assessment in their day-to-day working lives. And I think that's probably the key difference. The fifth question that we've been asked is that the day school days, asking whether participants have to attend them in person or whether it's based online. This is obviously a bit of a moving feast at the moment because of the COVID situation, but just to give you a little bit of history, for the previous or the current version of the course or the current academic year, we're delivering it online, and we've had 3 online day schools, and we'll be continuing that for the rest of the course. We're looking to confirm to do the same thing for this year as well, and that's just to do with uncertainty in terms of international travel and so on. So we're hoping to get that confirmed by the Central University in the coming weeks, and once that's done, we'll be able to communicate that to everyone. And we're optimistic that will happen. It's just a case of having the kind of administrative layers and getting that confirmed. But no matter which form the day schools are in, whether it's online or alternatively face-to-face, the students should plan to attend those. So just be wary of that when you're putting your application together. So you may not be in person on campus, you may be through a Zoom call, but it's a requirement really for you to attend those day schools, unless there's a reason, illness, etc., that means that you can't attend.
Simon, excuse me, may I comment on the day schools, just
yes, please.
From the perspective of an insider, the one that has been taking this online, this opportunity online. So I would say that for me, it was unimaginable that I would start traveling in the midst of COVID-19 across the border, to the UK, and actually it was a handy decision that they were conducted online. This saved me a lot of money probably, but the fact is that I was able to attend them alongside my work, and having the family around. This was a tangible benefit. The content that was delivered online, this was of utmost importance for me, because in the last, I remember during the last day school, there was a presentation by one of the staff, Cambridge Assessment English staff, who was talking about the IELTS exam and how the items are located and how to streamline this in terms of more valid assessment and more direct assessment. There are no threats there. So I was particularly focused on the IELTS perspective and how to apply this to the academic context. So for me, it was utmost benefit. And of course, there are many more lectures that you wouldn't want to miss.
Yes, that's one thing to add as well, that for the day schools, we often have a range of guest speakers that come from, currently we can, because it's online, we can get them from around the world. So we've had Professor Rob Coe and other eminent speakers that are able to attend and talk to the students directly, and the students can interact with them as well, which I think is a great benefit of the day schools, which is something that we're trying to build into, almost make it a unique experience that only the students would get on the course, which is great. The next question is to do with someone who's reflected on or spoken to a previous student and asked and said that it's their particular interest was in a case study type qualification, and the challenges of focusing on a case study qualification in terms of writing an assignment. And what are my thoughts on that? So case study qualifications are obviously a very small area of assessment, and there isn't that much academic literature in that particular area. So when there is a kind of an example or a professional interest that a student presents us with that is quite niche or quite unusual in some particular way, what we try to do as supervisors and course tutors is trying to get the students to think about some of the bigger ideas related to assessment validity and so on, and try to apply those skills and understanding specific to the case study qualification. So in some ways it can actually be a bit of a benefit when there's not that much literature out there, because it means that you can apply quite freely. You can think about your particular professional context very specifically without having to drag literature that's already there. So you can actually think quite creatively, and the students that have that experience can end up writing perhaps the most interesting assignments, because they're actually going into a new direction that hasn't really been looked at before. So it means that they can think very critically, and they're not necessarily having to be bogged down by the literature that's already out there. So although it's quite difficult to find specific literature, it does present some interesting opportunities as well, so that we'll try and get the students to think in a slightly different way when there's a case study qualification or some other kind of qualification that's quite unusual in some way. What's the next question is, what's the difference between the PACAs and the postgraduate diploma? I'm not quite sure what the postgraduate diploma you're referring to is, so if you could give some additional information about that, hopefully I can answer that question in the next few minutes. The next question, I'm not sure my organisation would be happy for me to base my assignments on their qualifications. If this were to be the case, is there enough information in the public domain to base them on other assessments? That's a good question. And it's a question that the students often get asked once they've joined the course. So one thing that we try to be very careful of, and in terms of research design, for example, is the idea of anonymity. So as a student, as we're thinking about the course design and the write-up of reports and assignments, we instruct the students and give them information about how they can anonymize the information as much as possible, so that it's not recognizable what the awarding organization is, what the assessment is, etc. So it creates the this anonymity, which means that in many cases it's okay to for the students to submit, and that's actually part of the research development practice that they develop as part of the course. So you'll be given a range of different techniques to be able to do that effectively. There's also the idea of all the students sign a a form essentially to make sure that they're being confidential with other students. So if they are talking to each other about issues related to their assessments, all the students have a kind of shared understanding that everything discussed on the forums will remain confidential. And Inara's nodding ahead there because that's quite an important part for people to speak freely on the forums, and the students accept that, and the tutors look out for it as well as they're going along. So hopefully that answers that question. I'm just scrolling through as many as possible. The next question, how is it beneficial to career growth? Well, it depends on the student, of course. So students that have completed the course, particularly we track people that have taken it from Cambridge Assessment's perspective and seen where their careers have gone to after that. And there's in terms of case study approaches, we've had particular students that have gone on to be directors of assessment. We've actually had one student that's recently been employed as or a former student that's recently been employed as the CEO of an awarding organisation. It's obviously difficult to disentangle entirely whether that's down to the course itself, but I think it really does give that kind of boost to the fact that you've thought incredibly deeply about issues related to professional practice. And you can demonstrate that. And I think that's a very important thing to get across when you're going through the application process for future work. So we have had some real success stories of people that have really gone on from the course in 3 or 4 years and gone on to career progression and growth either within their organisation or in an alternative organisation. Is there a scholarship available for this course? That's the 10th question here. Unfortunately, there isn't. The scholarship opportunities and the fees themselves are set by the Central University. So unfortunately, we don't have any immediate scholarships available for the course at this time. The next question, what's the difference between the two options on offer for Module 2? Yeah, thank you for that question. I skipped over it quite quickly as we were going along. Inara, did you choose 2A, the
yes,
2A?
Assessment, design and evaluation.
So maybe you'd like to give a quick overview as to what you've covered on that particular unit.
Well, I was a little bit, considering taking both, but there was no opportunity for doing that, and we've discussed that with my supervisor. So for this particular unit, I've chosen a task of building an artifact placement test. So for this, for building a placement test, I needed to understand how it is done within with all of the knowledge that is available about the multiple choice tests and their balancing them, validating the items and particular questions. So we had 12 weeks worth of collaboration, reading literature, commenting, and we've covered many different topics, and a lot of things were related to Cambridge Assessment English perspective. The articles were, most of them were recent. I would say that validity came again into focus in many of those articles, and ethical perspectives we've covered with the research seminar professors. Okay, so I would say that this has helped me to gain some insight on how we can reflect on the validity of the assessment we actually had part in, you know, partook in. So I hope that I'm able to come up with an assignment. So the difficulty with the online mode there was that we couldn't implement this research, you know, per se. We couldn't approach people, whether online or in person, because of the restrictions imposed by COVID. But we rather reflected, or we are supposed to reflect how we would have done that in case we are allowed, and all the considerations about ethical perspectives by Bureau needed to be applied. I've had a lot of questions answered, and I'm looking forward to combining them, you know, compiling them in one clear written assignment very soon.
Yes, so Inara is right that the 2A is focusing very much on the kind of the ideas of validity that you cover in Unit 1 and applying that to essentially the assessment cycle. So the design, the effective assessment design, taking that through to things like mark schemes and item writing and the kind of practical elements of creating an assessment, whether that's online or paper-based, whatever form or function that may be, and the looking at elements of things like reliability and quality validation as well at the end. So 2A focuses on that assessment cycle that we call. Assessment 2B is focused more on classroom practice, so related to assessment for learning. So it focuses, again, applying the principles of validity, reliability and so on that's covered in Unit 1, but applying it to classroom practice in the sense of it's looking at things like how would feedback work most effectively? What are the theories and barriers to effective formative assessment in the classroom? So, and in terms of the unit assignment, they're broadly similar. So it's related to the idea of an inquiry that you would make about students or about your assessment and trying to evaluate its overall quality, and the idea of collecting data and evaluating that data, analysing it as part of your evaluation of that assessment. What Inara correctly said, we call an artifact. So as Inara said, COVID restrictions meant the students this year were not actually able to collect data themselves and actually go face to face and do interviews or questionnaires. But for this year, we asked them to essentially talk about a research proposal, things that they would do and collect data on and evaluate the pros and cons of that approach in relation to their assessment artifact that they've designed. So that's fundamentally the difference between the two units. We can send around a document that just gives a little bit more information as to the content week to week for the units. We've got that and can send that around in the information afterwards. So that will be available for you as well for additional information. Okay, the next question is to do with the requirements to transferring to the MEd after the PGCA is completed. Would this be full-time or part-time if a student continued onto this program? That's a great question. Once you've completed the Postgraduate Advanced Certificate, you're automatically eligible to apply for the second year of the MEd course. So that would be essentially the other 90 credits that you need to complete the full Masters in what's called Transforming Practice. That would be the name of the course, the MEd in Transforming Practice. Now, the students who do that, that's also a part-time course. It's quite similar in approach to the PGCA in the sense that it has day schools that are run over the course of that particular course, and there's an assignment or a set of assignments related to that specific to 3 different units. I gave a link on the web page there that you can look at and find much more detail about how the course is structured and the costs and the fees and so on, and also where you can find additional information. So it's a separate application process. So once you've completed the PGCA, you just you can apply for that course, and there's just a similar form to fill out as you would do for the course itself. And that's run exclusively by the Faculty of Education. So that's just another thing to be aware of as well. So hopefully that's enough information for this, but if you need to find out more, just get in touch. The next question is from someone who's from Indonesia. They have a bachelor's degree in English language, literature from the Open University, and works as a private tutor. Can my referees come from students' parents, since I don't work for any organisation and they're self-employed? Yes, essentially the referees just have to come from someone of standing. That could be someone that's a former employer, or someone, a supervisor on a course, or someone that you've worked with closely over a period of time. That could be a parent or someone that you've worked with closely over a period of time. It's just a short letter that they have to submit alongside the written application, and we hope for 2 referees for each application if possible. So it sounds like essentially if it's someone that you have a professional working relationship with, they can talk about your qualities and your abilities to be able to work towards the course. That is fundamentally what we're looking for in the referees. So hopefully that answers your question. Someone's asked here about that they don't have IELTS, but they have Chinese English majors certificates. How do I know if it reaches the language requirements? Should I try to do IELTS right away? It may be worth looking at the equivalency of your certificate compared to IELTS. We do take equivalent qualifications, so it's worth looking at that before you go ahead and take IELTS right away. So just check that, and if you're not sure, just email the PPD email address and ask ahead of time, and they should be able to guide you and let you know exactly what you need to do. Okay, so I think we've got, is it about 10 minutes left? So I'll just keep going through the questions as they're coming through. The next question is someone that's pursuing the Delta Module 3 online and has finished Module 1 last December. Am I eligible to proceed my application further because I'm mostly concentrating on teaching? Yeah, we have some general guidelines about people that are doing more than 1 degree at the same time. The main thing to consider is just thinking ahead in terms of the planning for the course. So as we saw before and Inara mentioned, there are certain hours that we expect people to be working on the course content and materials. So whilst it is possible to be working on more than 1 course at the same time, it may be worthwhile just seeing where the bottlenecks may be or where the overlap is, just so you can plan ahead and make the right decision. We obviously don't want to put people under undue pressure to do more than 1 thing at a time. So it's just being wary and thinking carefully about that process before you go ahead and apply for a new course. So I'll just be wary of that. Yes, we've just had a further clarification on one of the previous questions. So there's a distinction between the postgraduate certificate and the postgraduate diploma, according to my search online. Yes, a PGCA is worth 1/3 of a master's degree, and this course is worth half. I wonder where the program fits. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I think the course that you were looking at before was the old version of this course, potentially, because we redeveloped this course for this academic year and made it from a 60 credits course and made it a 90 credits course. So we've actually made it a bit bigger for this version. So that postgraduate diploma, I don't think, well, it doesn't exist anymore if it's the course that I'm thinking of, and this is the only version, the advanced certificate. So that is so this course is the one to apply for, and it's just the 3rd master's course was the old version of it. Hopefully that clarifies it for you. Right. Okay, I'm just seeing if there are any more questions before we finish off. Yes, it's more a comment. So in academic libraries, there are usually exemplar assignments available for reference. I think that the assignments being available online as an indication of the standard would help gauge whether this course is right for individuals. Yeah, that's an interesting point, but actually it links to the idea of anonymity and so on. So while the course, we don't want to give away too much information about the student submissions, just in case there are issues with anonymity and confidentiality. So that's why we don't release materials for public consumption in that sense. But once students join the course, they have lots of guidance in relation to and go through exemplar materials as well to help build their understanding for the course itself, and in terms of what the requirements are in relation to the assignments. And that generally helps students sort of get an understanding and build their confidence actually in terms of what is required to do a passing assignment. Inara, I don't know if you've got any further thoughts on that.
Comment on that. I know that this part is covered because the assessment criteria are well developed. So even by looking at the assessment criteria, the set and the description of what the professor is expected to be submitted at the last in the long run, so you will be able to understand what kind of product assessment product you need to develop and discuss. Okay, so if in the first unit this was 4,000 word assignment, and it was really, actually it sounds like a lot, but at the same time, when you get down to that, you would like to be very, very precise with structuring your submission, because other than that, it will become really, it's easy to stray away.
Yes, yeah, 4,000 words does sound like a lot, but then once you've started writing and you've got all this information and ideas, it can actually become quite difficult to fit it into 4,000 words in many cases, which is often a problem that students don't anticipate at the time. In terms of
excuse me, in the practice of submitting the draft assignments first and getting the feedback from the supervisor. So this may encourage you to just give it a try.
Yeah. Okay, I think that is the final question for now. If anybody does have any further questions that I haven't answered yet, hopefully we'll be able to send you a list of responses to those questions in the coming days, with a variety of other bits of information as well. So just a reminder to everyone here that the deadline for applications is the 24th of June. And yes, if you can send your applications and your references to the email address that's provided, Rosie and the team at the network here will give additional information about how to apply and so on, just so you know exactly what it is that you need to do going forward. And at this point, I just want to again extend my thanks to Inara and for all of you for attending and asking really interesting and in-depth questions. Hopefully it's been an enjoyable and useful hour that we spent together, and I look forward to hearing from many of you hopefully in the coming weeks, and potentially even in October when the course starts in earnest. So yes, thank you very much for all your time and attention, and yeah, good luck with your applications in the next few weeks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.